Hi, you're watching Hindustan Times. I'm Aditi Prasad, and the devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria has shaken up the world. It's been described as the worst natural disaster to hit the world in the last 100 years. Now, the combined death toll has passed 41,000 and continues to rise. Some 200 buildings, thousands of buildings, of course, have been destroyed, but 200 buildings have been completely destroyed by the 7.8 magnitude earthquake. I'm joined today by Dr. Kit Miyamoto, disaster risk reduction and response expert. Dr. Kit is joining us live from ground zero in southern Turkey. He looks exhausted, as you can all see, and because his teams have been on the ground in Turkey helping in the rescue operations. Dr. Kit, tell us what is your assessment of the situation on the ground today? It's the ninth day of the earthquake really hitting the
Yeah, it's still in a response phase right now. And yesterday I was in a town called Hatay, and I mean that actual destruction is pretty incredible. I mean, it looked like actually nuclear bomb blast through it. And but even the place like that, still there are finding survivors. By the way, you know. So it's just never give up yet. I mean, this is yes, you're right. This is the second week now, but still survivors are buried underneath of it and without no water. So they're surviving. It's pretty amazing, but it's still there.
You are also a structural engineer at Miyamoto International. So let's talk earthquake engineering. I've heard you say before that a large part, many of the buildings or the fallen buildings, the ones that have been completely destroyed, are guilty of not following the required code for a required construction code, and which is why this is what. So, do you believe that a large part of this devastation was man-made?
Well, here's how it works out. Essentially, a Turkish building code changed in the late about 1997 to 8, and so anything built prior to say year 2000 has no seismic consideration at all, zero. So yeah, they are considered a very dangerous building. It's about similar, and that situation is kind of similar to what we find in many parts of the world, including India, by the way. And however, after 2000, anything built does have a seismic engine in there. The biggest flaw we have here is the no engineers or contractors have no license. There's no license system. So that makes extremely, you be a mercy of the engineers or contractors you hired, essentially, right? You know, there's no minimum requirements per se. So anyone want to be the contractor, they can be contracted here. And also that there's no technical inspection happens during construction to oversee the contractor by the independent engineer. This is something that you see in many parts of the world, again, including India too. And so there are good engineers, there are good contractors, and the building code is good. It's very similar to what you see in India and in California and other places. But the problem is that because there's no inspection there, in many cases I do think the contractor don't know how to do it. And I don't think they mean to cheat anything, because the reason I know this is that there's quite a bit of steel in this pillars I see, which being ruptured quite often, but little things lacking, little things. For example, the hoop you see in the pillars, those steel is a very important, we call tie, that keep everything intact. If those built incorrectly by a little bit, if the earthquake sways, those pillars get exposed essentially. That's causes the collapse of whole buildings like that. Or in a pillar or concrete, we gotta put the aggregate of this like a ragged little pieces of the rocks. That cannot be a little pebble, but they have the very smooth pebbles. So sometimes I see like that. So I see the little details like the lacking kill people. That's why we lost 40,000 people here. That's why the engineers are important beyond the field. And that's something that we got to really push that. You know, not only here but India and other places.
All right, you're talking India, so let's just talk because this earthquake has shifted the spotlight to matters concerning international preparedness, and since we're sitting in India, I'm talking about India's preparedness because as we all know, the Indian subcontinent and the entire Himalayan belt is, of course, considered prone to great earthquakes of magnitudes exceeding 8.0 on the Richter scale. How do you see India's preparedness? How do you, before the preparedness, how do you see the Indian seismic zone activity?
Yeah, I mean, India is definitely prone to earthquakes, just no question about it. And there's a fault line in the subcontinent, and also the Himalaya fault line you're talking about. Those are a big deal. And north, those fault line has a capacity to rupture magnitude 9. By the way, magnitude 9 is one more than magnitude 7.8, right? Just look like a one magnitude, but that's actually 1,000 times more energy, by the way. So yes, it will impact that. And also that kind of earthquake impact not only the towns nearby, but far away, especially at the soft soil conditions. You see in some parts of Delhi and a place like that. That's definitely vulnerable to the distance earthquake, something we see everywhere. Kathmandu earthquake, 2015, Nepal one. Kathmandu got severely damaged. Even the epicenter was several hundred kilometers away. And same thing you see in Mexico City, 1986 and 2017. Fault lines right now next to you doesn't mean you're safe, anything like that. That's one lesson, right? Second one is a building code. Building code, Turkey is a good building code. It's very similar to India, very similar to California. There's nothing wrong with the building code, by the way. But building code is meant to be for minimum life safety protection, which means hopefully
Right.
at the building code, you don't die. That's the kind of things, right? But doesn't mean it's 100% proof that collapse is not happening. It does happen because I know people like to believe that if the engineers say it meets the code, everything perfect, right? Like a linear. But nature is not like that. Nature is much more random. It's more like a bell curve. So yes, average-wise, it's good. Some smaller percentage actually do much better than what we think it is, but some do much less. It's just that's the nature of the natural phenomenon. And however, there are ways to make them much better. Don't do minimum building code. Just add 3% more things, like for example, using the base isolation or damping devices. Those technologies available in India, I think makes a huge difference. In affected area, I saw that the many hospitals are damaged and some even collapsed. However, there are about 1,000 new hospitals here in this area with a base isolation. Base isolation means essentially you're going to build a building, it sits on the ground, right? So ground shakes, everything shakes like that.
Right.
The base isolation essentially provide the air gap between the ground. So if the ground moves, building doesn't move. Well, kind of put air, so put rollers, rubber and stuff like that. So those hospitals, 12 of them, they are functional today, by the way. Functional. So that's a completely different thing. So yes, there are technologies like that available to make the things work. So critical buildings, I think we should really look into that in India and other places.
All right. And is India prepared for such a massive earthquake? You're talking about preparedness, but what lessons can India, for instance, draw from the tremors that rocked Syria and Turkey?
I think lessons should be three things. One is the building code is only for life safety. It does not preserve the so-called society as a whole at all whatsoever. So anyone making a large investment for the large apartments or critical structures, hospitals, schools, and stuff like that should do definitely much more than building code because so cost effective, especially the new construction. That's one lesson. And two is the gotta have independent structural engineers to do the construction inspection during construction. It can't be hired by the contractors. Has to be independent. I think that is a really critical lesson, I do believe. And third one is the existing assets, doing a seismic strengthening of it. I think those are a very important thing. And also each of us can prepare for that, right? Each of us should have a 2-week supply of water and the food. I think that will make a huge difference.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope that you're able to extend your helping hand, which you've anyway been doing for the last several days. But I hope you're able to extend that helping hand to more people in Turkey, where you are stationed right now. Your teams are on the ground. And let's hope the rebuilding starts happening sooner than later. Thank you so much for joining
thanks
me.
so much.
Hey,
by the way, I did the Indian search and rescue team here. Those guys did a great job, Just to let you know. Yesterday, I met them. Okay?
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.